Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the one with the bulging biceps, the perfect pecs, the washboard abs. Bow and worship the greatness that is Jazz Fitness. And as you can see, you're in the fitness corner. And now you're going to get a film review of It, the newest version, both part 1 and part 2 right now, starting with the first film. And now I'm going to indulge you with the lowdown of the great Jazz Fitness. So those of you who know, I've been in the film business, I've been in the wrestling business, I know all of it, I know the talents, I know what works, what doesn't work. So now you're going to get my unrelentless review on It, both part 1 and chapter 2. So let's get at it. First of all, let's start with the first film. Let's start with the casting, because I feel like as a person in film, I think if you have the right cast, you can pull anything off. So let's go back. Let's break down this first half of the movie. I'm talking about when the young people in 2017. First of all, let's start with the role of Pennywise, the dancing clown and variations of the It shape-shifting demon from Parts Unknown, if you would. Bill Skarsgård, Swedish actor, did a fantastic job in this role. He also, what I really liked is listening to different things you hear. And when I learned that Bill Skarsgård actually, when he was on set, was in character the whole time and in around the set, that reminded me of my wrestling background and in the wrestling business. Because when you're a wrestler and you're committed to your character, and it was also trained to us in wrestling school, when you leave your house, you're in character. Okay, when you're in the public, in front of the people and the millions and the dozens of fitness fans or whatever, or in this case Pennywise fans, you are that character, despite. So I really like the fact that he really took the time to indulge himself and get himself familiar, and also stayed true to the character throughout the whole first half of the film. He is fantastic in the role of Pennywise. Not taking anything away to Tim Curry, but I have to say that this Pennywise is far more vile, if you would, than the original It that we had seen prior. The Tim Curry It, although it was a fantastic, iconic role, I honestly feel it was more campy, more jolly, more comical. The Bill Skarsgård It is more cynical, it seems more deranged, if you would. And at first glance, when we first see Pennywise, we see this innocent kind of, oh, hi, how are you? You know, kind of like a jolly looking clown, which I think a majority of the people, because of It, have a fear of clowns because of things like Pennywise. He looked innocent, looked kind, talking to young Georgie, played by Jackson R. Scott, who, by the way, is on our roster of the Dream Masters. Anyway, we'll get to him after. But Bill Skarsgård did a great job, committed to the role, and even so much to bring in the fear factor to the other talent and the other people involved in the film. So kudos to Bill Skarsgård, because you know what? You scared the crap out of everybody, and probably including Stephen King himself, as he's gone on to say. Second of all, so we got to go from Pennywise. Now, when you talk about the Losers Club, because that's pretty much what the movie follows, right? It's about Pennywise versus the Losers Club. You wouldn't have Pennywise you wouldn't have the Losers Club without Pennywise. So they are both common denominators, if you would. So I go in that order. So we go from Pennywise to the Losers Club. First of all, I want to point out the fact that even though they called themselves a Losers Club, they had actually found each other and they bonded together, and they have a strong friendship and a strong bond that you can see both behind the scenes and on camera. And that, to me, speaks volumes for the supposed Losers Club. And I think a lot of people, after seeing the first chapter of It, will agree that who wouldn't want to be part of the Losers Club? They got along well, they busted each other's balls like any other teenage group. That's another thing I thought was great about the acting of the young Losers Club, is the fact that they are common teenagers growing up in kind of modern day, not modern day, it was set in the 89, I believe, or 86 or whatever. This is the newer version. But when it was set to there, okay? But here's the thing. When you see them interact and you see them on camera, They were very. You could easily believe that these are kids growing up in the real world. They bust each other's balls unfiltered when there's no adults around, and when the adults are around, that's kind of how they interact with them. So that's the first part. The second of all, let's break down the Losers Club. All right. Now I know that a lot of people will say, who the leader is, kind of a thing, and who is it about? Well, it's really about all of them together, but all honesty, if you want to look at it the way I look at it, I think that all honesty, what spun this movie really around and what really gave it the impact is Bill Denbrough, okay, played by Jaden Martell, who is a fantastic actor. I've seen him do some phenomenal work in the movie Midnight Special. He was also doing a movie called Henry, Book of Henry. Did a great job in those roles prior to taking on it. So I knew this kid had the acting chops, and being in the filmmaking business, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the greatest young talent of modern time. That probably people have never heard of. And I think the other thing that the casting director did good is by grabbing people who are kind of fresh on the scene, some of them. Now, granted, people like Finn Wolfhard was just starting out on Stranger Things, but what a job the chemistry between the whole cast was as far as the Losers Club. All right, and so I think it really starts at Bill. Okay, I think we started as Bill because the first person who's really impacted by Pennywise is Bill when his younger brother Georgie is his arms ripped off in a very graphic form in this version. Again, Georgie played by Jackson R. Scott, who I think is that kid's great at scaring people right now. All honesty, I'm about ready to make a film very shortly myself. And if I have the opportunity to bring in someone like Jackson R. Scott and Jack Dylan Glazer, I will bring them in. And I'll get to those people why. Let's talk about Jackson R. Scott, who played Georgie, first of all. He's not even though you might say, well, he's only in the role for a little bit. He's only in the beginning of the film, and then he pops up as Ghost. But how impactful is that, though? Because he is so impactful to Bill's story, and it keeps giving Bill the drive to keep going forward and going after Pennywise, the revenge for his brother's death. Now, It Chapter 2 kind of revealed, kind of the guilt, really, why the guilt is there. But all honesty, you would have that guilt anyway. When you're out, your brother's arm's ripped off and he disappears altogether. You want to mess up the guy who does that to your brother, right? I mean, I would. And Jackson did a great job bringing that factor to the screen. The terror factor, the innocent factor, and the interaction between Jackson R. Scott, or in this case, Georgie, and Pennywise in that opening scene. Very, very believable. Very, very cringeworthy, if you would. But all honesty, what a great job. Just that first interaction, okay? He first starts out very innocent, like, hiya, Georgie, how's everything going? And he was very, very low-key, very relaxing, very friendly. And Jackson, standoffish, which a kid would be if you saw a dude in the sewer, especially a clown. And I think that was a great realism to that. And that's what brings it to the whole Losers Club in general, is the realism of the friendship and the people's reactions. So that's Bill and Georgie, okay? Because I believe that's where it goes from. And then we break down the rest of the Losers Club. I guess then we go to Mike Hanlon as the next loser, even though there's other people in the group. But I believe Mike would be the second in command because he kind of stays at Derry. He has in this variation, he himself is dealing with a tragedy himself. He's reliving guilt of his parents' death. Very risque stuff, okay? But he lives with his grandfather. He's a hard worker, and he's dedicated to learning, and he's kind of headstrong. And he stays in Derry, which we'll get to in Chapter 2. So I think Mike Hanlon, who is also committed, just like Bill, to stick to this Losers Club. He comes in later in the Losers Club, mind you. He was in addition to the rest of them. So then we go to Richie Tozier, I believe. And Richie Tozier is the comedian, kind of the group, the loudmouth, kind of sarcastic kid, played by Finn Wolfhard. Finn Wolfhard from the show Stranger Things. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't watch Stranger Things. I haven't had the opportunity to sit there and watch any of it, any of the seasons. Shocking, I know, but I'm a busy man. But I do hear things and stuff like that, and I know it's a hot show. I just haven't had the opportunity to get into it. But I can tell you that Finn Wolfhard in this role, I've seen him in. And he is fantastic in this role as Richie Tozier. He's a loudmouth, sarcastic, believable. And he likes to kind of bust the balls of Eddie Kaepernick, who is played by Jack Dylan Grazer. And wow, okay, these two chemistry is spot on what Richie and Eddie would be from the series before, from the book, and current day living. And let's think about it. When you're with your friends, you have that ball-busting friend who kind of makes fun of you, oh, your mother jokes and stuff like that. And how realistic is that? We see so many times these coming-of-age movies where the kid actors who are supposed to be friends and all, they're kind of watered down, and they, don't really talk like a regular teenager. I think this movie did a great job with the busting of the balls back and forth, because I know as a teenager, when I was with my friends, yeah, we busted each other's balls, but we had each other's backs too, which is the important underlying role of the whole Losers Club as a whole. So we go from Richie Tozier to Eddie, and now we're going to go to Beverly. I believe she is a strong point as well. Beverly is the female and the only girl in the Losers Club who is going through a whole set of other demons at home, trying to overcome, not a couple things actually. She's trying to overcome, number one, how she's constantly emotionally, physically, and who knows what other abuse that she gets from her father. And those of you who come from broken homes can relate to the Beverly, and that wanting to be accepted by everybody, because at home you're not. And that can go two ways. One, you can become a complete psychopath and take everyone out and take your aggression out on everybody else. Or two, you can do something about it and find people who care and love you. I think that's what Beverly found in the Losers Club, is camaraderie, is a bond, okay? And people who love her for her, not for what she can do for them. And they treat her with respect, which she's not used to at home. It's a steady release from home, okay? Her being the only female amongst these dudes is impressive that she can hold through all these dudes, and she can probably beat up half the dudes, which is also a really cool aspect of Beverly Marsh, that she's a tough, girl to hang around, kind of the tomboy. You know what? I've always enjoyed hanging around with the tomboys because they're the most fun. I've always been a fan of girls who can back themselves up and have a great time at the same time and hold their own in a fight. That's what's awesome. Okay, and then we go to Stan, played by Wyatt Orloff, who you guys probably remember as young Star-Lord in a couple other roles, but young Star-Lord definitely. Now, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of these guys, and Jeremy Trainer is Ben. We add him into that mix. But let's talk about Wyatt Orloff, who plays Stan Uris, okay? Stan Uris is a character who, if you read the book and you saw the first film, if you know anything about it, you know kind of where that's going to go. I guess for myself, that's something that always made me kind of sad with the Stan character. Whoever played Stan, I knew that emotionally I couldn't get overly attached to, because I knew inevitably what would happen down the road. And I was interested to see how It Chapter 2 would actually explain and how that would be different from the original in the book version. And they did a great job with that. We'll get to Chapter 2 in a second, though. So you get your losers. Now, Ben Hanscom, he's kind of the newer kind of kid in the group. Doesn't really want a lot of friends. Kind of been picked on a lot of his life. He's a heavy-set kid. Standoffish. He's found a common ground with the losers who come to his aid when he's bullied by Henry Bowers, who's a complete lunatic. So good casting on that role as Henry Bowers. He's completely a kid I could see being a complete out of his mind bully. And also, we'll get into the bullying aspect of him too. But anyway, Ben Hanscom kind of is the one who kind of keeps the ball rolling, kind of kicks off the Losers Club getting together, okay? Because I don't think they were even dubbed the Losers Club until after the Rock fight, which was brought on by a fight between, the Bowers gang and the Losers Club, which would go on to be the Losers Club. Each of them found each other as a common ground. They were all going through torment of their own, broken homes, bringing them together. And then also these torturistic clown and variation shape-shifting things that Pennywise was doing on top of that. So if it wasn't hot enough to have a murderous clown or a shape-shifting demon from another dimension coming after you, you got to deal with your own tragedies at home and your personal lives, which is really hard for people, I think. Okay, so that's the Losers Club in an aspect. That's each of the individuals. The great job casting by all of them. Couple things. Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Eddie. If I was when I'm making a film, I want his energy on my set. Okay, what he brings, and actually all of them from behind the scenes, what I've seen, bring the fun aspect. When I make a film, that's kind of how we do things behind the scenes. On my sets, behind the scenes, when we're working on a film, we get the work done. I want it light, I want it loose, I want everyone to get along, I want the jokiness, I want the realism. And I think that Jack Dylan Grazer, no matter what film he works on so far that I've seen, he brings that energy, he brings that common funness, he brings that kind of comical relief behind the scenes on the screen, and then the interactions he has with other cast members, no matter who it is, he blends really well with everybody, and I think that's what I want when I'm making a film. Same thing goes for Jackson R. Scott, who I believe should be in a comedy film. I would love to see this kid do some comedy. Because if you meet him in real life, he is probably one of the funniest kids you'll ever talk to. Jack Dylan Grazer, I've not had the opportunity to meet either one of these guys, but I have met the rest of the Losers Club. I've met Bill, I've met Jaden, I've met Wyatt, I've met Sophia, and I have met Chosen Jacobs, and I've met Jeremy Trainer. And all of them are fantastic. They're really respectful. They've never met a real wrestler before, so I was excited to finally give them that kind of an image shot of what a wrestler really is all about. And I actually also had the opportunity to stand up for them and kind of people giving them a hard time at a convention or a meet and greet, and blaming them about prices or whatever, and how can you scare our kids? Why are we having clowns and balloons everywhere, scaring everybody? And when the time came, I stood up and I said, hey, listen, leave them alone. They're here to meet everyone just like anybody else, and if you don't like it, just leave. I will protect anybody who's being wronged, because despite what people might think of Jazz Fitness doesn't like a bully of any kind. You might say I'm an honorary loser of the Losers Club, okay? But I'm a winner on the Losers Club, just like the Losers Club are actually winners, because when they perform, when they're together, and the magic they have on screen is unparalleled, to the fact that they can defeat Pennywise not once, but twice, because of their impact, their love that they share for each other, and their common drive to do the right thing. That's awesome. Okay, so that's chapter 1. So then we go to chapter 2. Now it's older people, right? Now I'll be honest with you, not a lot of the adults, I don't know a lot of them. But some of the people that they had fantastic job by the ones they did select. Bill Hader is Richie Tozer, spot on to Finn Wolfhard. He's an adult Finn Wolfhard as Bill Hader. Bill Hader you might know from Saturday Night Live. I think he's got a very dry sense of humor myself. He definitely has a sense of humor, but I think he's a very dry sense of humor. I think he's very methodical in the way that he performs. I love Stefan on Saturday Night Live. Who doesn't? That character is kind of goofy and stuff like that. He can't even keep himself composed when he's doing that role. I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to do it either. But he does a great job in this film. I was a little worried when they built in Bill Hader. He was going to kind of bring in that kind of super bad kind of feel to it. And he did a good job being true to the character. And I really like that interaction there. The gentleman who played Eddie, I don't really know him, but he did a great job in that role. He did a good job, kind of being the husband who's kind of being told what to do after being his kid, having his mother being told what to do. And that's kind of what Eddie's really about, is being bullied and being told by everyone, being controlled by a dominant female. And that's kind of what the Eddie story, every character is about, more so than the whole, having Munchausen syndrome. It's all about, the women in his life controlling him. He kind of likes that. I think he can't escape that, at that point. Jay, who plays older Ben, he does a good job in this role. He's, of course, if you know the storyline and the movie, in the book and one thing always stays the same. Ben, when he's a younger man, he's kind of big bone, heavy. When he comes back to Derry as an older adult, he is actually in shape, very attractive. In the TV series, somehow he was played as John Ritter, who, by the way, John Ritter was a fantastic actor too. Rest in peace, John Ritter. But this gentleman here, Jay, he did a great job as Ben. And I also like the fact that he did a great job staying true to his passion for the love of Beverly. And I don't remember the actress's name who played Beverly, but she did a fantastic job as well. Being portrayed as an abused victim, like Eddie, she's controlled by men in her life who constantly abuse her. I think that's something that's hard for her to break that cycle, which is why she went from an abusive father to an abusive husband. And I'm glad that in the beginning of the movie she left them. And also kind of glad that they left that out of chapter 2, but let's not try to do a lot of that. But anyway, good job for Beverly. She did a good job. She was very believable. And what I liked about the fact is how Jay, who plays Ben, and John McAvoy, who plays Bill as an adult, they did a good job kind of playing off each other for the love of Beverly. I think Bill made it obvious that he was not involved for Beverly in the part 2, okay, as an adult. I think they might have had a couple flirtatious things here and there, but there was no connection there because Bill was married, remember? And I believe Bill is happily married, okay? It was never said that he was not happily married, so there was no connection there. And just remember, Beverly is stuck in this poem that she believes that Bill wrote. How she thinks he wrote it, I don't know. But clearly, Ben has written it. He is a very soulful individual. He can write, obviously. Now, here's the other thing I find interesting. Isn't it interesting that both Bill, who writes horror stories, is popular, goes on to become a very famous, writer, but Ben Henstrom, the guy who plays Jeremy Trainer, and then there's Jay who plays younger Ben. The character of Ben, he also is a writer. He writes poetry. He writes that poem that he wrote to Beverly. That's a very soulful, very heartfelt poem. That's why she was attracted to it, because she's never felt that kind of love before. And granted, she got it mixed up who wrote it. And I often wish that, Ben back in the day had said, listen, I'm the one that wrote that, not that guy. Now, granted, there was a little tease of a spark between her and Bill, but there was nothing ever there. Bill never had that feeling for Beverly that I believe that Ben did. Granted, they might have had some flirtatious stuff. All the boys did. Come on. That scene where they're all together. How can you not like Beverly? Plus, she's the only girl amongst them. But is that what it is? Is it because she's the only girl that they have a crush on her for? Or is it her personality? Questions. And okay, second of all, so that's all of them. So then we go down to the guy who played Stanley Irish. I don't really know who he is either, because of the fact I couldn't get involved. Because again, with the whole Stanley Irish character, I couldn't really get overly involved because I knew that my heart would be crushed and I'd be sad because I knew it would be the ultimate outcome. But in chapter 2, that's what we're on right now, we have to, that's one of the reasons we open with It. That's kind of what brings the whole It thing together. But how would they impact that? And I think it was great that they closed the movie with Stanley Uris. Yeah, I guess I could say the spoiler alerts, but it's a little late now. But I'm trying not to go into spoilers without doing this, but, well, there you go. But Stanley did a great job in this. Both Wyatt and the gentleman who played him in the movie did a great job. Granted, the guy who played him in the movie was only in it for maybe 15 minutes, but his voice and his words carried on at the end. And that's what really brought everything together, isn't it? Great way to end, to bring back Stan Uris. If you remember in the TV series, in the book, he came back. Stan came back to help fight It. In this one, he didn't come back at all. So kudos to them for sticking trigger and doing something different. Bill Skarsgård comes back as Pennywise and just as terrifying as before, if not even more so. I think with the scare factors, there was a lot of jump scares in the first one. This one has jump scares and it has legitimate scares in the sense that it has a built of terror involved. You know it's going to be scary. Okay, you know certain things shouldn't happen. You know you want to yell at the screen, what are you thinking? Don't do that. Don't you know any better? And that's what's kind of cool about this movie. It brings out that kind of reaction out of you. And that's what you want in a movie. You want it to get a reaction. If you don't get a reaction from your film, you're not doing your job. Whether it be to scare you or, to make you laugh, whatever the movie is. If you don't get a feeling out of your movie, you're failing as a filmmaker. From the audience, I mean. Okay? So I'm not going to go into the ending. I'm not going to go into a lot of the premise here. I'm just going to go by the fact that everyone did a great job in this role and in this movie on both ends, both young adults, the mental, and the adults in general. It seemed like they had a great time both before and after, during the role, after the role, on the set, off the set. I also want to add, John McAvoy is a fantastic actor. Okay, he has done some amazing roles lately. Last year, I believe it was, when he did Glass. If those guys saw Glass, the performance he put on. Why didn't he get an Oscar for that? He did a fantastic job in Glass, where he played a multiple personality disorder individual. He played the Beast. He did a great job doing that. He can flip like that and do that. Goes to Charles Xavier, leader of the X-Men, and then he can go on and do this role as Bill, as the leader of I believe to be the leader of the Losers Club, Bill Denbrough. James McAvoy is someone, ladies and gentlemen, that I believe is going to be up there in one of the best of modern time. The young adults in this movie, I can tell you right now, some of them are on the border of being some of the greatest talents of modern time. I can also tell you there's probably going to be a couple of them who are going to have a hard time. I think Finn Wolfhard, as long as he continues, will do well. I think that eventually he might get burnt out of Hollywood. I think eventually he might go into something else. I don't think he's going to be on Stranger Things forever. And I'd like to see him do a few other things. I know he's got a few other roles in there. I'd like to see what else he does. Jack Dylan Grazer, I can't wait to see what he does next, because all honesty, I'm in it. I think he's a great talent. I think he brings atmosphere to the set. And again, when I'm making my film, one of the people I want to bring on is someone like a Jack Grazer and like a Jackson Scott, because I think he looks like a riot to hang out with and work with too. I think you need fun in order to make a film successful, if that makes any sense. You need chemistry, okay? So I don't want to go too. I know this is going to be a little long. This is a 30-minute review, but I want to leave it at 30 minutes. So I hope you guys like my review of It, both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. It's a full review. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go back and check it out. It's a really great film, endorsed by the great Stephen King. And thank you, Stephen King, ultimately, for bringing this to light and bringing it to the world. Stephen King, one of the greatest writers of modern time, from the little town of Bangor, Maine. Please know that real fans always have your back, and we all respect you for being the hardworking writer that you are. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be the writer that I am today. So Thank you, Stephen King. Thank you, everyone who made this film. You guys did a great job. Congratulations to everyone involved. So there it is, under 30 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching my review of It, chapters 1, 2, and also, quick note, Henry Bowers, wherever you are, great job. Peace, people.